As we speak, the World Hindu Congress is going on in Thailand. It's giving us a moment of introspection because we need it in this classical revivalism of Hinduism, of what Hindu actually means. What do these things mean? Who are we? Where are we from? What do we do? What do we stand for? What do we represent in the world? Because if you believe certain people sitting in North America is the worst scourge on humanity because a genocide is about to happen and all minorities in India are about to be massacred. Now, do we believe that? I want to begin this in a certain context before I set up this debate. There's a video. This is the World Cup final happening in India's city in Gujarat in Ahmedabad. I want you to listen to this video. Okay, that is, as I mentioned, the World Cup final. That's 130,000 people who were the audience in the World Cup final, which India lost, unfortunately, singing Vande Mataram. Okay? Now, in this country, this is the India-Pakistan match, I'm being told, sorry. So, in this country, believe it or not, when I was starting off as a journalist, for the past 20 years, there was a debate on that it is un-Islamic to use the word Vande Mataram because Mataram means mother. So the politicians of the day who called themselves the representatives of India's Muslims came and said that we can't say, here's an example, Asaduddin Owaisi, Lok Sabha Member of Parliament from Hyderabad. I am not against Vande Mataram, but I am against enforcing it on the people. Now, you don't need to enforce it on the people because the most popular rendition of Vande Mataram has been done by a Muslim composer by the name of A.R. Rahman, who's probably the biggest living legend in music composing here. Okay? So, for 20 years, we're having a debate on can we sing Vande Mataram or not? Massive controversy. Now, let's take it further. We have a debate on Hindutva. What does it mean? Okay. The Supreme Court, as you would know, said ordinarily Hindutva is understood as a way of life or a state of mind. But we are told Hindutva is right-wing extremist politics. It's something that all parties to run away from. There is hard Hindutva and then there is soft Hindutva. It's a ploy. Okay. Then we have a huge debate in this country over Ram Rajya. Because as I understood the stories, when I read in my Macaulay's Minute Westernized Education, which it was, the stories of the Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur, Ambrosius Aurelianus, the best traditions of chivalric Knights Templar orders. They were knights by the very definition, Christian. But they sat on a round table, they were equitable, they were nice people. It was an Arthurian principle of fairness and justice. That is fairness and justice that got nothing much to do with Christianity per se. It is something that we should all aspire to, as certainly we did because we've all read the stories of King Arthur. But when you say Ram Rajya, which is supposed to be an Arthurian concept of justice, got nothing to do principally with religion, it's highly controversial. Saying Jai Shri Ram is highly controversial. Why is saying Jai Shri Ram highly controversial? Saying Allahu Akbar is not controversial. Saying Satriya Kal is not controversial, nor should it be. It's a greeting. Salam Alaikum is a greeting. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Ram is a greeting for many people, but it's highly controversial. So, in the World Hindu Congress, they've tried to define Hindutva and what it means. So, let's open up this conversation. Dushyant Sridhar, a Vedic scholar, is joining us on the broadcast. Professor Pavan Sinha is with us. Xavier Rodriguez, founder and editor-in-chief of the Goa Chronicle, is joining us. As is Mandaleshwar Swami Advaityanandagiri is joining us from Canada. Dushyantji, let me begin with you. So, we have a very interesting thing. In the erstwhile kingdom of Ayutthaya, whose capital today is Bangkok, and if you and I were to travel there, we would land in the Swarna Bhumi International Airport under the aegis of the Garuda, which is their national emblem, under the head of state who is King Rama X, in a 95% Buddhist country, who don't have a problem with any of these symbolisms, which come from an Indic civilization, but we are highly confused in Bharat on what does Ram Rajya mean, what is Hindutva, there is soft Hindutva, hard Hindutva, what is Hindu Rashtra, why, what has gone wrong, sir? Why are we so confused?
Namaskaram, Rishabh. Namaskaram to all my fellow panelists and namaskaram to the viewers. Yes, of course, in the Parama Vishnu Loka, since you did give an introduction to some of the temples outside Bharatadesham, Angkor Wat is referred to by Suryavarman II as Parama Vishnu Loka, and there are plenty of inscriptions in Sanskritam, which I can go on and on. Keeping that aside, your question was, why is it so? Why is there such a pandemonium in our minds? As much as the influence of our civilization and our scriptures, be it the Srimad Ramayanam, Sri Mahabharatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and so on, is found in the larger Indian subcontinent, the influence of our Indian politicians is not seen in the larger Indian subcontinent. That is why those countries still admire and adore our civilizational ethos, because we are drenched in our own political environment. That is why we have this confusion in our mind. Keeping that aside, Rishabh, you also spoke about Hinduism and Hindutva. I've mentioned this in many of my brief talks. The Shabdam Hindu, on one side, it does come from Sapta Sindhu, Hapta Hindu and Hindu, which talks about the land beyond the Indus, which is the Sindhu. So the larger geographical area. We also have plenty of references, even in the foreigners' accounts of the 5th and the 6th century of the Chinese accounts, that say this is the land of the moon, Indu, which is Intu. So Intu has a prefix there, which is Hakaram. Why? Because moon is regarded as the deity of the mind, and this was regarded as the land of the learned. So be it the land of the Sindhu or the land of the Indu, this land has always been associated with that word. Let's keep that aside. What is Hindutva? In Sanskritam, we have, for example, there is a Shabdam called go, cow, bovine-like. So the ability to be a cow, the cowness is called gotva. Similarly, the ability or the innate quality to be a Hindu is called Hindutva. Since RSS says Hindutva is our ideology, people say then Hindutva is communal. The word Hindutva means being a Hindu. I don't know how the word has become communal. And third of all, you did ask, how did this civilization manage to gain the Renaissance or the kind of revival? The point that I would like to make is, amongst the very few countries that have a civilizational account, one is China, one is Bharatadesham, and then a few countries in the Middle East like Iraq, Iran, where Sumerian, Mesopotamian civilizations survived, Egypt and Greece. So beyond that, North America, South America, Australia, we have to keep them aside because we don't have too many accounts in history or inscriptions. So of the countries that have had a rich civilization of the past, it is only China, India, parts of Egypt and parts of Greece which are still in slightly a safer position. The Middle East, the Iraq, the Iran region, Afghanistan, they are not so very safe. So Bharatadesham has managed to have a beautiful civilization which is in a continuous mode. And the last point that I would like to make is, why the sudden revival? Thanks to media, thanks to some of the positive effects of social media, that even common people, leave alone the scholars, the people of scholastic achievements, that forms a very small percentage. The common people like us can understand what is the greatness of our civilization, and there is a revival in our minds, and when there is something in the mind that comes to action.
But it, like I said, it should be a great thing for the world, because a classical revivalism, as I just mentioned, is important. If you look at the Renaissance in Europe, after the Dark Ages, came the classical revivalism, they came the art, the sculpture of the Michelangelos and the Da Vinci. You're going to see the sculptors, the modern day sculptors who are building Ayodhya, who are building the temple in New Jersey, who are building the temple in Abu Dhabi, the carvings they're doing. So your classical revivalism, that then leads to scientific revivalism, and that's a good golden time for a civilizational heritage. Rediscovering its past is a good thing. But we are for some reason extremely scared of it. Let me read out what the Hindu Congress declaration is. It says, in the term Hindu Dharma, the first word, that is Hindu, is an unbounded word. It's a large context, basically, they're saying. They go on, and I'm quoting, in contrast, Hinduism is different because it is suffixed with an ism, which is a term defined as an oppressive and discriminatory attitude or belief. It is for such reasons that many of our elders preferred the term Hindutva over Hinduism, as the former is more accurate. Hindutva includes the gamut of all that the word Hindu implies. We agree with them and should do the same. The term Sanatan works as an adjective indicating the Hindu dharma's eternal nature. Unquote. Now, let me now get back into context and take this further. Professor Pavan Sinha, what do you make of this? Because as we speak, you know we have this soft Hindutva, Vande Mataram, Ram Rajya argument going on. As we speak, you know there's an argument on Sanatan Dharma happening in a very violent, vicious manner by politicians of the land. Why do we put in the context the confusion?
First of all, I would like to congratulate Vishwa Hindu Congress and Swami Vivekanandji. I would like to thank you and my co-panelists. The first thing which you mentioned about Hindu revivalism, we have no doubt went for the revivalism, but actually the construction of the temples were taking place in England, in Australia, in USA, in other places, even when there were dark ages here in modern period in India. We have seen two dark ages. One was in the medieval India, another one was in the modern India, where we couldn't utter our words, we couldn't utter Ram Ram, Sham Sham, Radhe Radhe, etc. We had to do it in a very close circuit. So, revivalism has taken place, and when we talk about Hinduism, that means the principles belong to the principles, so principles of Hindus. And when we call Hindutva, that is why Hinduness, that means Hinduness. And VHP, this World Hindu Congress.
Okay, so Professor, how did it happen? Okay, and I'm not saying that, that all sorts of belief systems should not do introspection. We should, we have problems, we should deal with them, and there'll be problems in the future. Just like Christians killed the Jews and Muslims killed them, and, and things have bad things have happened. So I'm not saying nothing bad happens, but why did Hindutva become an ugly word? It's an ugly word in politics. Sanatan Dharma has been described by an heir apparent of a major family in Tamil Nadu, ruling family in Tamil Nadu, as a disease that needs to be wiped out. Why has it become so ugly?
Actually, Britishers understood that once Hindus get to know about their past and present, it will not be easily possible for them to maintain their colony in India. That's why in 1923, when Savarkar spoke about Hindutva, they started opposing it. 1923 onwards, and that was why perhaps in 1925, RSS made it a main plank, one of the main words of its activism. So it was because that they had the fear of Hinduism, of Hindus, and they also created this fear in Muslims, in Christians, that once they started getting about their past, they will not make us easy to manage India, to live even India.
Okay.
That was why they opposed this word.
Okay, so before I come to Swami Giri, let me quickly get Dushyant Sridhar back in. Dushyant Sridhar, so now a person like me has a problem, okay, and I'm a millennial generation. Now you have Gen Z going forward. If you show up with the swastika, you are told you are a neo-Nazi because people don't understand. If you say I'm a believer in Hindutva, you are some sort of extremist. If you say I support a Ram Rajya, then oh my God, you are almost planning genocide in this country. So what do we do? How do we say that we are proud supporters of a classical Indic revivalism of theosophy, philosophy, culture, practice without coming across as some sort of fanatics?
Rishabh, two points that I would like to make, which will help in answering your question. One is with respect to the political climate. See, I would largely attribute, I'm not trying to give all the credit, but in the last 9 years, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister, who has never tried to shy away from the cultural roots that we have had. That's very important. So, political leadership, one, I am proud of my civilization. Two, I don't demean or speak ill of any other civilization. So when I sport my civilizational beliefs, the belief that I have in my scriptures on my sleeve, how is it affecting your eyes and your mind? So the political leadership should be very clear. Should not should not play gimmicks on how to do against the people. So one. Two, with respect to the commoners, I honestly feel that educating the masses, especially from the school education, the education system should imbibe the good values of our scriptural past, of our historical past. So celebrating only the invaders, never trying to rely on the good work done by our own men. When we say go local, go vocal for local, local for vocal, we have had our own share of great poets, poet extraordinaires, best of the dramatists. We are never presented. So the education system should look very wholesome. While we also appreciate the contribution of other kings and other foreign kings, we should understand the greatness of our civilization through the education system. Though it is not an immediate answer, it will give a very, very strong foundation to our children, and you're talking about millennials, Gen Z. So whether it becomes Gen Z square, Gen Z cube, in the years to come, they will have a very positive approach to our entire civilization and history. If the education system is not changed, if amendments are not being done, and we still keep gloating about our invaders, I'm sure this will just...
No, because it's a very real conundrum. I face it. And I can imagine then others face it also. For example, if I were to go to, let's say, a birthday party, all right, and meet my friends and greet everybody by saying Jai Shri Ram, many would either think I am come from some village, or I am old-fashioned, or I am even worse, an Hindu extremist. It is common parlance. It's no different than saying hello. Now, that's how it should be. And I already mentioned the concept. If I put on a T-shirt and with a swastika on it, and hop onto a flight, I'll be arrested and I land somewhere else. So this is a genuine issue that we need to get into resolve, because you have 800 million people in this country, large amount of them who are the inheritors of an Indic civilization, who are under the age of 35, facing these conundrums. If we lose them, we lose our cultural history. Let me get in Swami Advaitananda Giri, who's been listening to the others very patiently. Swami Giri, what do you make of this? Why is the World Hindu Congress having to gather in Thailand to help us define what Hindutva is? Why do we fear all of this?
Dushyant it is very much needed, how Dushyant explained, and I want to add further to that. Sa vidya ya vimukte, education is that which liberates. That was our essence, and it was systematically removed, and a British classroom system was adopted. And you can say in 200 years, we have reached to the state which you are mentioning, that even if you put a swastik, you may be arrested. If you say Jai Sri Ram, then you are considered as a backward. And like talking anything, if you feel good about being Hindutva or Hindu Dharma, you are criticized and you have to think before speaking. Now, to bring it back, this declaration is good. In the National Education Policy 2020 in India, the universal human values were adopted, and also Indian culture was to be adopted, it was mentioned. A good work also started in that direction, and it set the foundation where, like in certain states, Srimad Bhagavad Gita was also included in the curriculum. So which is a good beginning towards ending this. or any reform to bring.
Okay. So Swami Giri, you're of course you're sitting right now in Canada, so you know what's happened recently in the political climate between India and Canada. So I want to ask you a larger picture question also. Okay, in terms of an Indic identity, that is not just people who have recently migrated. You know, we think NRIs, you know, people who, you know, first generation, second generation migrants. We have an Indic identity in Malaysia and Cambodia, in Laos, in Thailand, in so many other places, which have as old. In fact, there are certain places in Myanmar and Thailand where the Indic civilization is as old as India, as the mother territory. So do we see the Indic identity differently where you are staying, sir, with a global perspective?
It's like the people who came here, they did not came to learn our civilization. They came here to make money. Now the children of them, so who came, they had less of this. And even as you mentioned, like you yourself feel that can I call myself a Hindu? Before that, I need to think about it. Now, the generation which is there right now, so one level of degradation is like the one who came and then this whole politician making it like a bad thing being a religion. And then these children, the people who came, they were even lesser in their spirituality, and then their children, they don't have any sanskar. So when you don't have sanskar, then, so which is like, if I translate it, would be mannerism, etiquettes of particular culture. Our culture was so rich, like when you say Ram Ram, so then, okay, the Ram resides in you and Ram resides in me. Or you say Namaste, then I bow down to the divine in you, and then other person also bow down to the divine in you. In compared to, okay, good morning, which said like, okay, morning is good. So systematically we degraded from the higher self to the lower self, and this convention addresses that issue. So now if you come here, in Canada, the systematically the Pakistan's ISI and other powers, they supported a Khalistan movement. And then people are, it divided so much that...
Yeah, and can you imagine? Yeah, so can you imagine the homeland of...
And daughter came to me and says, like, I really liked your presence, and but I think you are a Hindu. So the daughter was following the Sikh tradition. So, I was astonished. Like,
no, but that's the problem, no, Swaminathan. I'm a Punjabi Hindu that I know. I'm a Gulati, okay? So I know there are Sikhs also that carry the surname Gulati, just like Manmohan Singh, the former Prime Minister of India, is Manmohan Singh Kohli, and you have Virat Kohli. The tradition was that the eldest child in the Hindu family in Punjab adopted the following of Guru Nanak. So we are exactly brothers because exactly that's how it happened. Now, if we lose connection with what our roots was and where we started from and how this all started, that's where we get divided and we can get people to prey on ourselves. Let me get Pavan Sinha back into this. Pavan ji, so as I mentioned, 800 million people younger than 35, so younger than me, okay? What do we tell these people? What is okay, what's not okay? Should they be embarrassed? Should they be apologetic? What is reasonable pride and what then becomes dangerous chauvinism?
We must have pride, and we should communicate it that we have proud, and we call ourselves Hindu with the pride, with that pride, with the pride of past history, the science, the society, and then that kindness, that humanity. All what a human being needs, we have that. That's why we are Hindu, and they should be communicated well. Actually, I would like to point out one very important thing from the annals of the history, that colonial capitalist Britishers always liked leftism here or leftist here in India. And what Britishers did not do or couldn't do, leftists here they did it. They told Islamists how to write, how to speak, and the abhorrence that they showed, I don't know why, against Hinduism was actually later on was taken by some of the
No, but it's a fund. Okay, so let me, for people watching the broadcast, Professor Sinha, okay, there are 3 of you here. 2 of you I can clearly see are wearing saffron colors. In this modern day context, even that is a gali. Bhagwa is a gali. It's an insult. Now, how did we get there? How did we get there where Vande Mataram is controversial, Hindutva is extremist, Ram Rajya is fanatical, Bhagwa is a gali? What happened? How did we get here?
Through the education, through public meetings, through public gatherings. We always go into the gatherings with the same attire. We speak to them with the same attire. We always say that I belong to this community, and I always tell them with a lot of pride. And I have mastered the knowledge of my history. And this is
okay.
this is the.
But it is reasonable to ask. Okay, it's reasonable to ask. I'm short of time, so sorry. I'm cutting you short. I'll leave the last quick word with Dushyantji. Dushyantji, it is reasonable to ask the question that as we try to remedy these unfortunate circumstances where everything seems to be either fanatical, insulting, or even abusive, or in the very least, as Swami Giri pointed out, you have to be very thoughtful thinking. कि सही बोल रहा हूँ, गलत बोल रहा हूँ. It's become very difficult. How do we address this and tell young people that you can be a proud Hindu, just like Rishi Sunak is not apologetic about lighting diyas, just like this new Republican candidate is not being apologetic of being a Hindu. You can be a proud Hindu, but where is the line? Where does that pride become chauvinism? Where does it become bigotry?
Rishabh, one is, of course, I'm sure my co-panelists have also agreed, that education in the short term and the long term will always help, be it through books, speeches, sermons, or even debates, or anything of that sort. One more thing which is very important is, as a civilization, probably as a country, we have a huge young population that is either attached to sports, especially cricket and other games, as well as movie industry, entertainment industry. And in the last 5 years, something very interesting that I've noted is a lot of the movie stars, some of the celebrity stars and some of the celebrity sportsmen go to temples and they feel nothing, they're not abashed, they're abashedly Hindu. So this kind of a stardom which can be used positively to tell the young masses, see, your cricket heroes, your movie heroes, they themselves don't have a problem sporting the civilizational ethos on their sleeve. So what is your problem? Okay. So I feel, one, on education. Second, to leverage the stardom with some of the people who can also be inspiring to the younger generation will help.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of time. Okay. We have to reclaim the swastika, which in global memory has now been destroyed by fanatic Europeans, white Christians. Nothing to do with us. I can't see that if you wear saffron that you should be called a Bhagwa as a gali. There has to be a balance, of course, but we have gotten so confused, so vicious, that everything from Vande Mataram to Sanatan Dharma to Hindutva is a point of argument, is a point of controversy, and that's why people avoid it. It's very strange. So the discovery is happening for all of us. A rediscovery is happening for all of us. There are some people like my guest today who are more well-versed on this, so can give us a better historical background. But I am representative in many ways of people like you who have had an English education. We are proud Indians, but does that make us confused? Are we, the quote-unquote confused desis in our own country, wearing our Italian suits and ties, speaking English, but proud Indians, but don't know how to be proud Indians? It's a very, very important connotation of conversation for our times. Let's have it as often as possible. I thank my guests for joining us and shedding light on these matters.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.